What we're going to do in this video is we're going to look at images and how to edit them, and in particular how to crop and resize using some of the freely available tools that are available for download on the web. Okay, so the first thing I'm just showing you here is I'm showing you an image file I have, which is the Self-Assembly Sites logo. You can see it's actually quite big on the screen here, and if you look at the title here you can see that it's 900 by 600 pixels. What that means is the number of pixels from left to right is 900 and from top to bottom is 600. So that's how big that image is. And this becomes relevant later on as you take something like this logo and you want to make it much smaller so that you can fit it in the top right corner of your screen without taking up too much of your screen space, so that you can fit other stuff onto your web page. So what we're going to do now is, first I'm going to show you a free tool. If you go to paint.net, if you're using Windows, and if you click on this link here for paint.net, and here's the download link here. So if you're using Windows, this is a really useful tool to use to edit images. It's a more advanced version of the MS Paint program that comes with Windows, but it has some more advanced features which I'll show you in a couple of minutes. Now if you're using Mac OS, there's another program called Paintbrush. So I'm going to Google Paintbrush Mac OS, and here's the Paintbrush website, and if you click on downloads, and here's the download link for Mac OS. So those are the two tools that I use for making quick edits to images. I also use Adobe Photoshop, which is a more advanced tool. The problem with using Photoshop is that it's several $100s to buy. It's quite expensive, and it's not really necessary for basic image editing. You can just use one of these free tools. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to the image that I have open here, which is this version of the logo. I have it on my desktop here. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to open that with paint.net. So here you can see the image is quite large. There's a lot of free space, empty space around the outside. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to crop it down. And there's the crop. Now I'm going to save that. There's a couple of different options here. I'm just going to choose all the defaults for the moment and go back in and refresh the image. Now you can see it's an awful lot smaller now, and it's only 649 pixels in width and 201 in height. So as you can see, this is already much smaller and will fit much better on a web page. But what I want to do now is just downsize it slightly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Image, Resize, and you can see there's a number of different options here. You can resize by absolute size. What I'm going to do is resize by percentage, and I'm going to just resize that down to 60%. You can see that's been resized now, and I'm going to save. What I'm going to do here, instead of doing save, I'm going to choose Save As, and I'm going to save that as SAS logo small. And now we can open this up with Firefox again, and you can see the two different images there. So that's a handy way of resizing images so that they fit better on your web page. Now the last thing I'm going to do is, if you need to make an image a specific size, you can also do that. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to make this image, and I'm going to resize this image by absolute size, and I'm going to make it 300 pixels wide. The height gets automatically filled in, and now I have a 300 pixel wide image that I can save now. So now if I go back out and have a look at this again, you can see that this image is now 300 pixels wide, which will fit into an area. If I have a web page where I've been told that I need to make an image a certain width or height, I can resize that image to make it exactly that. So that's how you can resize images and crop. There's a lot of other tools here. For example, you can add text. You can use the other tools here, circular selections, and all sorts of different tools available. You can also change the colors that you're using and use a paintbrush. And you can also use a pen tool. the history here, you can go back a step, and one of the final really useful tools here is if you go into adjustments, we've got black and white, where you can change something to black and white, or you can change the brightness and contrast. I'll show you what those do. The other useful thing is the effects menu, and you can find some things like blurs, and you can do a preview. And you can add noise if you need to add some noise to an image. Maybe you've got a brand new image that you need to make it look a bit older, so you can change all these settings and mess about with that. So some really cool stuff that you can do. This is Paint.net. It's a free tool. There is also the Mac version is Paintbrush. Don't think the Mac version is quite as powerful, but I'm sure that there are other image editors out there available for Mac OS that will be just as good. So that's how to edit images using Paint.net.